Welcome back to the show. Well, with its rugged mountains, ridges, and deep canyons, Arizona Highways magazine is focusing on the last designated primitive area in the United States.
The Blue Range Primitive Area is right here in our state, and Robert Stieve, of course, is here to show us some of the beautiful sights from it. And actually, probably some people didn't even know this was here.
Yeah, I think most people probably don't know. I was talking off camera to some of the folks in the green room. Nobody knows about it, and that's one of the reasons we do it. You see it there on the cover. People ask me as editor about, what I think are some of the most, or what's your favorite place in Arizona, and this is typically, it's high on the list. I sort of have to love every place in Arizona with my job. It's like kids, you can't pick a favorite.
Right.
But this is one of my favorite places. For your viewers who might be familiar with Hannigan Meadow, up in the White Mountains, and it's kind of up in that neck of the woods. Last time we were on, we talked about wolves and how you might want to go out and see some. This is actually where the wolves were literally reintroduced, was into the Blue Range primitive area. It's got an interesting history, and we bill it as the last primitive area in America. And without getting too complicated, when they started protecting land in this country, most of it was called primitive areas. And then in 1964, the Wilderness Act was passed, and most of those primitive areas were converted into wilderness areas, which is the ultimate protection that you can get, honestly, in the world. You can't even take, no mechanized vehicles, bikes can't go in there, what have you. So as you're seeing, it's a beautiful place worth preserving. This one didn't get the wilderness protection, which means it is susceptible to mining and some other things that could threaten and destroy that land. So there's a political and a news issue that goes along with this story. That aside, it's just a beautiful place to go. I was telling you guys earlier, it's probably 70 degrees up there in the daytime, and there's a lot of cool weather and a lot of beautiful scenery. And
does some of this spill over the border?
Yeah, it actually goes into New Mexico. Yeah. This is right on the Arizona-New Mexico border, and the Gila National Forest on the other side of the border, the state border, they were part of one at one time.
Okay.
And so, and they actually got wilderness protection in New Mexico. We didn't get it in Arizona, but as you can see, lots of beautiful aspens. That's a New Mexico locust tree, as your font tells us. And thank you, because I wasn't sure. But elk and bear, and as I mentioned, the wolves. There's a lot of hiking trails up there, and there's fishing up in the Blue Range area. So a lot to do.
But is this a high-level hiker area?
No, that's a good question. I mean, there are some that are more suited for backpacking. And it's a big area, as you see. This is the Blue River here. You can get a sense of why it gets its name. It's just a beautiful spot. But yeah, there are long trails that are good for backpacking, but some short day hikes that you can do up there as well, and it's easy. So and fairly easy to get to. It's just in a part of the state that people don't typically visit because it's well off the beaten path.
So I'm wondering then, why is this the only primitive area left? I mean, why didn't they convert it over to that wildlife?
Well, when you read the story, there's a lot of political maneuvering that goes into some of these things. There's the Arizona Wilderness Coalition has been fighting for decades to try to get it wilderness protection, and until somebody in Congress in Arizona sort of takes up this issue and adopts it and pushes it through, it probably won't happen. The reality of miners going in there and opening mines, it's probably not a huge threat, but any threat is a threat, frankly. Right. So, and this is the kind of things that could be lost if this area was, mined.
I mean,
this doesn't even look like it would be here.
I was actually just, that's weird, you're getting in my head. It's unbelievable to me that that's even Arizona that we're looking at right
That could be Costa Rica.
Yeah, we were just talking about Costa Rica. Yes, it certainly could be. And as I mentioned, I mean, it's fairly easy to get to in terms of the roads you go up, and it's just out in the middle of nowhere.
And I know we have another picture with wildflowers, and there's a lot of areas in Arizona that are known for that, and this is another one of those gorgeous areas.
Yeah, there's a lot of wildflowers, and we're getting into wildflower season. Once the monsoon season hits, everything gets so green and beautiful up there. This is close to where the wildfire started, so some of the trails up there haven't been completely restored. So if your viewers are going up there to hike, there's warning signs from the Forest Service and what have you. But a lot of campgrounds too, lots of ways to explore this beautiful part of our state.
I feel like in just the photos you showed us this morning, it's huge. It must be such a huge area. Do you know about how large it is?
I don't know the exact area. It probably mentions that in our story. I know it's hard to believe I didn't memorize the thing before I came out, but it's a very large area, and it is very rugged and remote, and that's why the wildlife love it up there. But it's good for visitors as well.
As Robert says, go up there. Run into a bear or a wolf, you'll be okay. That's what he said last time. You know, and I said, wait, is that what we were trying to go for?
You know, it's a great conversation starter some point, you know, over the weekend. It's
like a bucket list
wrestled
thing.
a bear, man, yeah.
Well, I think it's worth mentioning, too, there are just so many reasons to have this amazing magazine. And, you know, you see these beautiful pictures, and that's the thing, is it does spark up these, like, questions. I want to know more about the area. I want to know more about its history. And you get all of that in the magazine as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Another story, briefly, is the Buenos Aires National Wildlife Refuge, which is not far from Tucson, which many of you viewers may not know about. So a lot of great pictures in there, too.
Right. And, of course, as always, it gives us some really great locations for us to visit. And just check out. I mean, it's such a great magazine. And, Robert, we always appreciate when you come on and tell us more about it and what to expect. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you can get the full experience by subscribing to Arizona Highways Magazine. Just call 800-543-5432 or go online to arizonahighways.com.